Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really unpack the core ideas from interesting sources, giving you that shortcut to understanding complex topics. Today, we're getting into something many find, well, pretty challenging, learning English.
Right. And the material we're looking at today offers maybe different perspective. It's less about the old school grammar drills.
Yeah, it suggests a path that's more about genuinely absorbing the language
Yeah,
naturally.
exactly. It's about acquiring it. Almost like how we learn to speak in the first place. Through conversation, not textbooks.
So our mission here is to pull out those key insights, find those practical bits of language you can actually use, the chunks, as the source calls them. We want to understand why this conversational way works and show you how effective it can be, especially if you feel a bit stuck.
Moving beyond just learning about English to actually using it.
Okay, so, when we think language learning, we often jump to grammar, right?
Yeah.
Rules, vocab lists.
The usual suspects.
But this material asks a really fundamental question. How did you personally learn your first language? Yeah.
It probably wasn't by studying sentence diagrams, was it?
Not at all. It's much more organic. Think
Yeah.
about, say, a child learning Hindi, like the source mentions. They don't sit down with verb conjugations first.
No.
They listen. They try to copy sounds. They babble. They make tons of mistakes.
And that's okay.
It's more than okay. It's crucial. It's that immediate feedback in context that wires the brain for language. And the argument here is learning English isn't fundamentally different.
Right. So the advice is pretty clear. The best way to get better is by, well, doing it.
Using the language.
Listening, speaking, trying things out, repeating.
And crucially, not being afraid of those mistakes. They're not failures. They're data points. Your brain uses them to figure things out. It's necessary.
It shifts it from knowing facts about English to actually building the skill of speaking English.
Precisely. Like learning to ride a bike. You don't just read the manual.
You fall off a few times. You get on, you wobble, you adjust. Your brain builds those connections through doing. Language is similar. It's a skill. Active use builds fluency fastest.
Okay, that makes sense in theory, but let's make it concrete. How does this look in practice? The source gives us a great little example. A really simple, everyday chat in a cafe. There's Rahul, the customer, and Priya, the barista. Let's use their conversation to see these ideas in action.
Good idea. It's a perfect example.
So in the dialogue, Rahul just asks for coffee, politely.
Standard step.
Then Priya offers him options like espresso, cappuccino, latte, and hot or iced.
Giving choices.
Rahul says what he wants, a hot cappuccino, and specifically with almond milk.
Customizing the order.
And it ends with, okay, coming right up, simple, polite, done.
And what's key there is just how normal it is. It's not complex grammar.
No, it's super mundane.
Exactly. And that's the power. This is the kind of English you use constantly. The script shows how these basic exchanges are full of useful, repeatable patterns.
Real world stuff.
Totally. Stuff you can use tomorrow, whether you're traveling or just ordering lunch.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Let's break down those language chunks. First phrase. Rahul says, "Can I get a cup of coffee, please?"
Right. Classic polite request. The source notes, how common can I get is. It's direct, but also, kind of informal and friendly in a service context.
So alternatives like, "I'd like a coffee" or "Could I have a coffee" are fine too.
Absolutely fine. Also very polite. Can I get just has a slightly different, maybe more common feel in many everyday situations. It's about those nuances.
Gotcha. Then Priya asks, "Would you like it hot or iced?" Offering a choice.
Yeah, and notice the structure. Would you like? That's a super useful chunk. It's a formula, really. You learn that pattern. Would you like? And you can plug in almost anything.
Like, would you like sugar or...
Would you like a bag? Would you like to see the menu? It lets you say a lot with relatively little mental effort. Huge for fluency.
Okay, and then Rahul's request, "Can I get it with almond milk?"
Another great example of customizing. That little phrase, with almond milk,
You can swap it out.
easily. The source mentions things like with sugar, with extra foam, or without cream. You just change that last bit.
So it's like learning these little building blocks.
Exactly, these chunks. Phrases, patterns. Learning them helps you sound natural because you're not trying to build every sentence from scratch, word by word. You're using the same pre-made bits that native speakers often use. It speeds things up.
And the source really pushes the idea of active practice, like actually saying these things out loud.
Yes, even if you're alone.
Might feel a bit strange at first.
Maybe. But it makes a difference. It reinforces that language is something you do, not just something you know in your head. It's physical.
So actually forming the words helps.
Definitely. That physical feedback helps lock it in. The material says, don't stress about perfect pronunciation right away. Just engage. Just say it. That active part is key. It makes the neural pathways stronger than just listening. And it helps you not feel so, overwhelmed by trying to be perfect immediately.
Which leads us to the fluent tip in the source material.
Yeah.
Speak more than you study. Simple, almost too simple.
It sounds simple, but it's profound, really. It gets to the heart of it. It's not just about reading lists or doing exercises. You have to produce the language, say the words.
Why is that so much more effective?
Because active production, actually speaking, forces your brain to retrieve and use the language in real time. It makes the connections stronger, faster. It's learning by doing, which is often how we learn skills best.
So wrapping this idea up, what's the big takeaway for someone learning English?
Well, the source really frames it as, stop thinking of English just as a school subject.
Right, like history or math.
Yeah. Instead, think of it as a practical skill, like playing guitar or cooking. Something you get better at by doing it, by practicing it, by integrating it into your life.
Become a user, not just a student.
Exactly.
So hopefully this deep dive gives you a new perspective. Thinking about language learning through conversation, focusing on these useful chunks, it could really change how you approach it.
It's about making it feel more natural, more intuitive, part of your actual life.
You can stick.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider this idea. Treating something as a skill to be practiced and acquired through doing, rather than just a subject to be studied passively. How might that mindset shift things for you, not just in learning English, but maybe in learning, anything new, a hobby, a skill at work, something else entirely? It's an interesting way to think about learning itself.